So let's look at BB.12, interpreting circle graphs, in case you're having trouble with that. Customers at a shopping center were asked to report their favorite snacks. So as I look at this circle graph, or pie graph, that it's been called before, we're looking at percentages. And so the question is, which list is arranged from least favorite snack to favorite snack? So we don't have an exact amount, but we do have percents. So grapes are 25%, sunflower seeds are 30%, and cheese is 45%. So percents are just like any other number. The bigger the percent, the bigger the number of people that would choose that snack. So when we go back and we look, it says least favorite to favorite. So least favorite, the smallest pie wedge here is 25%. So grapes would be the least favorite. Sunflower seeds is the middle size. It's 30%. So that would be second, and cheese is the biggest at 45%. So it should go grapes, sunflowers, cheese. So that's the first one. Clark County has several major hospitals, all of which keep meticulous records of how many patients are treated. Which city's hospital treats the fewest patients? So again, we're looking for the smallest pie wedge. So this one seems a little bit more difficult because it's fractions instead of percents. But if I'm just looking at the pie wedge, this blue piece is the smallest. And 1/12, if you think about fractions, 1/12 is the smallest. And so let's talk about how we know that, in case that's what's giving you trouble. Let's go over here. So if we have 1/6 was a choice, 1/12 was an option, what else? 1/6, 1/12, and 1/4. So these pesky fractions continue to give us trouble. So we want to know which fraction is the smallest. And so remember, this is a part out of a whole. So if one whole cake was cut into 6 pieces, then one of these pieces is 1/6. And these should be the same size. They don't look exactly the same size. This is the same cake, but instead of it being cut in 6 pieces, it's cut into 12. 12 pieces, and so this would be 1/12 there. So we can see that's a lot smaller than the 1/6. This is the same cake, but cut into fourths. 1/4. So the 1/4 is the bigger piece. Lots of times we want to think, well, that denominator's bigger, so those are bigger pieces. But what that means is that same cake is cut into 12 pieces and I only get 1, where the same cake is cut into 4 pieces and I get 1 of those fourths. So 1/4 is the biggest and 1/12 is the smallest. So as I'm looking, and I can actually see that on here, 1/4 is a big piece and 1/12 is the smallest. So which city's hospital treats the fewest patients? That's Greenwood. And make sure you're reading the question carefully for least and fewest. Which list is arranged from favorite sport to least favorite sport? So favorite sport is going to be the one that more people choose, so the bigger piece. So the bigger piece here is boxing, and then diving, sailing, track and field, baseball. So that's the order I want because it does say favorite sport to least favorite. So boxing, diving, sailing, track and field, baseball. And again, our choice looks like it's this first one right here. double checking my answer. So I skipped a lot of those other problems that were very similar. I don't really think that's probably where the trouble was. But let's look at this one. A fisherman recorded the weight of his catch, broken down by type of fish. So it looks like about half are pike, 1/4 trout, and 1/4 catfish. If the fisherman caught a total of 72 fish, how many more kilograms of pike than trout did he catch? So let me make some notes on my paper before I switch screens. So there's 72 kilograms of fish. How many more of pike? Then, so pike was 1/2, then trout. And trout's 1/4. So let's switch screens so we can see where the work is. So 72 kilograms of fish. So how many more? So probably the easiest thing to do on this one is to find out how much half of 72 is. So 1/2 of means times 72. And trout, 1/4 times 72. And this would probably be a little bit easier if you had your school calculator because you could use fractions, but we can still do the math. 1/2, 1 divided by 2 is 0.5. So I have 0.5 times 72, and that's 36 fish, or 36 pike. And then, oh, I didn't show that. 1 divided by 2, and I get 0.5. I can leave that there. And times 72. And I got 36. So there's 36 pike. Trout is 1/4, so 1 divided by 4, and you get 25 hundredths. So this is 25 hundredths, but I don't even really have to clear that out. So 25 hundredths times 72, and that's 18. 18 trout. And so how many more is 36 minus 18? And you should get 18. 36 minus 18, and that is 18. So it's 18 more. So how many more? 18 kilograms. Submit. All right. Landberry requires all dogs to be registered with the city and keeps records of distribution of different breeds. If 96 dogs are registered, how many of them are beagles? So let's see. There are 96 dogs. And 5/8 of those dogs are beagles. So how many are beagles? Let's take a look at that work. So 5/8 of 96, and of means times. And again, if we had our calculator at school, we could just use 5/8, but since we don't, if you own one, you can use that. If your parents want to get you one right now, they can. It will be the calculator that you also use in 8th grade. So it would not be a bad idea to get one. It is the Texas Instrument TI-30X IIS. They have them at Walmart for about $8. They've got different colors. You can put your name on it like I did. You don't have to have it. That's just if your parents want to get you that to use while you're at home, that's fine. And you can take it to school. But let's go back from our commercial break about calculators, and let's do this. 5/8. 5/8 of 96. So 5 divided by 8, and you get 0.625 times 96. So that is 60. That would be 60 dogs. So if 96 dogs are registered, how many are beagles? 60. The visitors to a certain website were questioned about their favorite breads, which, I'm not going to do that one. So I think this may be the last one of a different kind in this section. So let's look at it. As part of a food drive, 6 friends collected canned food. So Ken collected 15% of the amount. Evan was 20. Nolan was 10. Priya was 5. Colin was 20. Jaden was 30%. If the friends collected 40 cans in total, so let me write that down, 40 cans. How many more cans were collected by Jaden and then Priya? So Jaden was 30%. Priya was 5%. So there's 2 different ways to solve this problem. And let's look at that. So you could just find out what 30% of 40 is. 30% of, so times 40. And you could find out what 5% of is times 40 is. And I could do it like that. So 30%, and if you're using a calculator and an iPhone, it has a percent button. Sorry, the math teacher, or the 7th grade teachers were in a group chat right now trying to work on contacting students, so my phone is going crazy. So 30% times 40 cans. So Jaden was 12 cans. Priya is 5%. So 5% of 40, 5%. 5% times 40. I'll start that over. 5% times 40. And that's 2 cans. So then I would say 12 minus 2 is 10 cans. There's another way you can tackle this problem. I could say, what is 30% minus 5%? So I could do the subtraction on the front end, and I would get the difference is Jaden was 25% more cans. And so then I could say, what is 25% of 40? And I could do it that way. 25% times 40, and I still get 10 cans. Either way works. Here you did your multiplying first and got the number of cans, and then you subtracted. Here I subtracted first and got the percent difference, and then I could use that percent difference to find 10 cans. Either way you want to do it, that is perfectly acceptable. So let's go back. 10 cans. So I think that is probably all you need at this point. I can't figure out where my Screencast-O-Matic came from. Anyway, if that does not help you, send me a message, and I can schedule a Google Meetup, and we can just go through it together on your screen.